Bitcoin. Wow, Bitcoin. So we've seen Bitcoin in the course of like right now as we're doing this, we have gone into some conflict uh, with the Ukraine and Russia. This is actually moment of truth for cryptocurrencies because this was what cryptocurrencies were designed to do, right? They were supposed to design, they were supposed to provide a way for uh, everybody to have a way to continue to transact and store value where otherwise warring countries would not allow them to. So we have a situation now where Russia is completely cut off from the rest of the world through sanctions, through the old, you know, geezer banking system. So Ukraine, to date, as far as I know, at the time of making this, and I'm gonna put this over here so you're better in there. So Ukraine actually started getting donations from the rest of the world in various cryptocurrencies, and they raised $37 million, which is significant from various donors around the world. Now, the irony of this is that the $37 million was used so they could buy guns to kill people. That's not what crypto's all about. We're actually supposed to stop that. Like Bitcoin is actually supposed to end wars. I don't know if you've heard that before, but the reason why Bitcoin is supposed to end wars is because the reason wars happen is primarily because of the banks. It's primarily because of the currencies that are involved. And so what's happening is that we're having cryptocurrencies actually supporting these wars now, which is strange. But I digress. Bitcoin is going to stop wars because if you're using Bitcoin, you're not able to print money endlessly, which is how wars are powered. Because they print endlessly in order to fund the wars, they're able to do that. If the countries were tethered to Bitcoin, where they couldn't just endlessly print Bitcoin, then they wouldn't have all the endless resources to waste on bombing people and sending out jets to kill other countries and all this other crazy stuff, right? Instead, they would have to really, really find ways to actually resolve conflicts without without actually moving into going to war, right? So that's why it's often said that Bitcoin will stop wars because it'll stop governments from being able to endlessly print money. And that's a good thing. However, that's not where we're at right now. But I'm seeing a much greater increase in demand for Bitcoin, and the markets have reflected that. I think as we move forward, more and more people are going to become what a lot of people like to call awake. So more and more people are going to become more aware of the shortcomings of their banking systems, the shortcomings of their currencies, and they're going to be looking for uh, where they're going to be able to save their value. And the only thing that isn't being affected by these wars, technically, that can't be manipulated so much is Bitcoin, simply because there's nobody in the world that can just ramp up the printing press and start printing more Bitcoins, right? The way that they're doing with the dollars, or the way that they're doing with the rubles, or the way they're doing it with the yens, right? Or the yuan, and there's just no way to do that. So more people are trying to think about what they're going to do with their wealth in this kind of situation, and more people are starting to understand what it means to be beholden to the whims of a government controlling the currency versus the power of a decentralized network, which has rules without rulers. And with that, there's a certain amount of certainty that the the ledger of what is Bitcoin is always going to be something that's reliable, something that will be nice and solid. Uh, that it doesn't matter, what computers go to war with Bitcoin, balances aren't going to change to something that isn't in consensus. So in the end, the future for Bitcoin, I believe, you're going to see two systems. Two systems are going to emerge. And I say this, everyone who knows me said, they know that every time I talk about this is what I keep saying. Two systems are going to emerge. You're going to have the old banking system that is going to continue to do what it does, with its crusty old, held together with popsicle sticks system that's just going to keep on supporting the elite and the oligarchy, and where all the value is going to flow up. And then you're going to have another system which is going to be open, and it's going to allow for everyone to be able to participate and transact, and that's Bitcoin, and that's other cryptocurrencies like Ethereum that can all participate in the system without having to KYC, right? Which means that, and what that means really, like some people don't understand. Like when I say KYC, I'm talking about you have to be verified by a third party before you can actually participate in this. So in the old, crusty financial system, you not only have to have KYC, but you have to have $1 million if you're going to have any kind of meaningful interactions to be able to participate in the financial system. Right. So how many people have that? People who are watching right now, you got the $1 million? Probably not. Not a lot of people do. And so that cuts out a huge percentage of the population. What happens when so many people, like everyone, is able to participate? It's not good for the ones that have all the wealth, because they don't want them to participate, because that just threatens their wealth. This is why you're going to see over the course of this coming year more and more kinds of laws or new kinds of guidance about cryptocurrencies, because the current old system that's held together with popsicle sticks is not, they don't like it because they need to have people stuck in the current system. They need to stay there, right? They need to be slaves to the system. But when there's two systems, when you have a choice where you can actually transact either in the old system or you can transact using Bitcoin or Ethereum or Peerplays, then that's going to help that great deal with giving you more choice about how you're able to hold your wealth. So in Bitcoin, it's ultimately up to you. In Bitcoin, you have the choice about how you're going to transact with it. With the old banking system, which isn't going to be old much longer, by the way, because they're looking at introducing what's called digital ID. And with the digital ID, they attach to that digital ID a CBDC. CBDC stands for Central Bank Digital Currency. So using that, with your digital ID, it means that every which way you go to transact with these things is going to require government approval, right? They're going to set out their own rules. It'll be their rules, not any that you consented to. And no matter what the circumstance, you're just going to have to abide by them, because that's where your value is. And if that's where your money is, if that's what you depend on to live, then you're going to have to follow those rules no matter what. And if you don't, well then, and you try to go outside of the parameters, well then your credit score is going to go down. And that's how they're going to basically make it so that they have control over the economy. This isn't like conspiracy theory or anything. This is actually like what's all set out. Like this, these plans are very clear and they're very verbose. And those that actually have been following all this have actually seen this. So it's actually a system that's already implemented in China. So it's not new, but it's just not something that's come to the West yet. And this is something that is going to be a bit of a culture shock, I think. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a difference between you having control over your finances, over your money, versus you being able to decide where it's going to go, which is what Bitcoin is going to be able to do. So these two systems are going to emerge. I think there's going to be less and less of an opportunity for what we know today as fiat gateways to be able to be supported in this kind of an environment, because they're creating a situation where they're going to create rules that just make it impossible almost to utilize your Bitcoin inside of their system. But there'll be other ways, because there just has to, because what'll happen is that we'll want to have more of an alternative, which means that more development is going to go towards that.